preferably in my usual tournaments that would happen, but I actually have to see what Blizzard want to do to actually do that. I don't get to decide, so that would generally be my ruling, but I'm waiting for Blizzard to decide. As we do have to the bottom right hand side, we're going to start off with our blue Zerg player. It is Nerchio. But he's going to be up against some aggression here from our Zerg in the top left-hand side. It's the red Zerg player. It is Elazer. Now, let me just very quickly throw that up here, the text Elazer. There it is. Look at that. It was preemptively prepared. I knew this was going to happen. I knew he would spawn top side. Yes, it was all meant to be. He opens with a 12 pool here and straight into the extractor as well. So right from the get-go, Elazer is going to be opening with some aggression. He's going to be going pretty all in as well. A 12 pool with gas. I mean, it just doesn't really say to you, oh yeah, let's start taking an expansion. Usually this extractor comes up, you work your way into sometimes even just a Baneling nest super quickly, although it looks as though Queen first, so it is going to be Zergling speed. As we're just going to be getting that first Queen on the way out. So what is Nerchio going to do about this? Well, his first Overlords are coming through the center of the map, right? So as these first Overlords cross on by, he wants to get up here, and this is going to start telling him just what he's up against. He's going to be looking for Lings crossing the map. He's going to be looking for the hatchery timing. Let's see what will happen as we're going to see these first Zerglings just going to be popping out in a moment or two, going to be coming across down towards the bottom right-hand side. As we do have Nerchio, of course, we'll see this for the first time in just a moment or so. So he's going to see these Zerglings now. So far, this just looks like a 12 pool. There's not much else to see. But once you get past the, past these Lings, you continue up to the natural, you see the lack of hatchery. You realize that there's going to be gas taken behind it, and that's where you know you're up against a full-on committed all-in, and that really can change what you want to do. And Nerchio's maybe even going to just start a Spine Crawler right away. So Spine Crawler at the front already. As Zerglings approach the front, they're going to start nibbling on this hatchery, of course. And how will Nerchio choose to approach this? Does he pull drones at all, or does he just let that hatchery take damage? Knowing that there's no hatchery here from Elazer, he might just let it go down, saying to himself, well, I don't really need it. If I can just hold my main base on 4 more workers, this can work okay for me. He'll try and buy some time with these Zerglings. If he can get a Queen out, it's one of those 50-50 things where, okay, he'll get the Queen out, but it will go down. The question is, will he get enough damage done? We'll find out here very soon as we're going to see these Lings coming in and out. That Queen is going to be able to get out here, and so far the hatchery is being held. But does Nerchio want to kind of defend the low ground, or will he just defend the high ground? It looks as though it's going to kind of be the high ground. Some Lings behind these Queens will be able to morph into Banes without being picked away at. And he's also got some Lings on the low ground to actually just straight up help the fight as well. The Spine Crawler position to also cover this ramp means that Nerchio's actually set up very well defensively. He's going to be able to fight against this here, as we do see Queens and the Spine Crawler, they hold well, and Elazer is actually starting to drone. Obviously, the great thing about ZVZ is this Overlord here will provide Nerchio with the vision of when that hatchery gets taken, so he will be able to know about that. He won't be caught off guard, and so if Elazer starts to expand, he knows himself time to make a move to get out of this main base and to get down to the low ground. A Baneling just went off on a Lava, I think that was, and another Baneling on another Zergling. That's 2 Banelings down here from Elazer, and that's not really the efficient trades which maybe he needs. And now Nerchio, with his Banelings here ready, he's going to use those to force those Zerglings away and to maybe, oh no, Elazer, some damage taken, and he loses his Baneling as well to just 1 Ling. That Bane's going to get transfused. I'm not sure if that was necessary. The Lings didn't even get close to it. But Nerchio's going to be able to throw down the hatchery just seconds after Elazer, and that is going to put Nerchio in one heck of a position. Just ahead on workers throughout this game. Still ahead right now. He's got multiple Queens over just the single one. There's a lot Elazer still has to build into here, whereas Nerchio really already has everything going for him on his side. So that hatchery will be about halfway done, and that obviously means that in the very near future, we're pretty much going to be setting up into a fairly standard game, 2 bases apiece. Obviously, all the timings are going to be delayed quite heavily, but then we're going to be able to see the opportunity to go up in towards a 3rd hatchery as well from both of these players. This Spine Crawler is going to be burrowing now towards the front. These couple of Queens are setting up, just here to defend as well, and this combination obviously will be able to defend quite nicely moving onwards, and it will maybe even deter Elazer from being further aggressive in this game, because there's already a Spine Crawler that's been invested into here that Nerchio's kept alive, and he's got multiple Queens with transfused energy because he hasn't had to inject a natural. So it's a great defensive position from Nerchio, and those are all the advantages he has, Whereas Elazer has to really worry about maybe Nerchio being aggressive. He has to be prepared. He's going to throw down double evolution chamber, and that's just interesting as well. We'll see exactly what he wants to do if this is some Zerglings from Nerchio will finish up, and maybe get ready to start heading across the map. Nerchio and Elazer, two Polish players, of course, who really do have one heck of a history behind them. You know, Elazer was almost kind of Nerchio's, you know, like the student of Nerchio when growing up, and then there's always this big story of just Nerchio always beats him. And then back in BlizzCon 2016, in the group stages, Elazer came out and he beat Nerchio in the biggest, obviously, I mean, doesn't get much bigger than BlizzCon, but that was the first time that Elazer came out and beat Nerchio, right? On kind of like the big stage, you know, okay, it happened online a couple of times, but not in big offline events. So that was a big turning point for Elazer's career, and maybe even the start of setting him up into becoming the player that he is today, as we're going to be seeing Banes coming through. Nerchio does get the cancel on that third hatchery of Elazer, and the question is going to stand once again here. Is that off-center, or is that square just not meant to be centered? No, that's off-center. Oh, Elazer, small mistake there with the placement of his hatchery. Hopefully he can figure that out. We're going to be seeing a couple of these Banelings coming down towards the bottom right-hand side. They're going to be regathering with those Zerglings as well. The Roach Roaring currently on its way up as well, as it is from Elazer going to be those melee upgrades. So, again, very interesting, very different to go for double Evo and a ZVZ. I can't recall a time where I've seen a double Evolution Chamber being thrown down. It's very, very weird. It's very, very different. But as we do see the melee upgrades being chosen, it will just mean that he's going to be playing a Zerglin heavy style for quite a while now. And from that Zerglin heavy style, I mean, you're really looking to deny a third hatchery. You're not looking to be the player who is down a hatchery already. And that's one of the big issues right from the get-go here. Nerchio has that hatchery up. Nerchio's in this position where he's got roaches on the way out as well. He's on 45 drones against 30. Nerchio is looking absolutely pristine here in game number 1 of our tiebreakers. Remember, these are just best of 1, so win here from Nerchio will put him in a very good position where, because 3 players will advance from these tiebreakers, Nerchio, well, it basically means that Nerchio is guaranteed to not drop out just yet. There is the potential for round 2 of tiebreakers. If Nerchio then loses to Partin and Elazer beats Parting, that becomes a possibility, and obviously we'll see how it plays out as more of these roaches continue to set up. Baneling's starting to come through. Nerchio needs to be careful with this. It's basically a big all-in from Elazer, but what was that? That was not how you play it, and Nerchio is going to take the game. He's going to start off with that victory, and he this tournament, because these are the players or the map makers that you're going to be voting for in the fairly near future when it comes to voting on the TLMC. So make sure you get involved in that as well. As we have to the top left-hand side, our blue Zerg player. He's already won against Elazer. A win here would secure him first place. It's Nerchio in the top left. And to the bottom right-hand side, the red Protoss player, it is PartinG. So, let's see what's going to happen here in Game 2. As good luck, have fun. God of Protoss calls Nerchio at the start of this game. Just going to be seeing Partin with the GLHF Savior of Zerg. You got to remember that Nerchio's been around a long time as well, and he really was a player that Partin was... I don't know, I can't really kind of recall exactly any matches they maybe played in, but Nerchio was a dominant player back in the days when Partin was an absolute god as well. I mean, I remember those IPL show matches. Was it IPL like Friday Night Fight Club or something? It was something along those lines. It was like best of 5s or best of 7s, and Nerchio, maybe it was even best of 9s, and Nerchio went on this like insane win streak against all of these top Korean players. Crazy, crazy stuff. And as we do see the probe just having a little bit of a fight, and drones are going to be obviously pulled against that to just engage initially, as the initial probe apart and just trying to be an annoyance against this hatch gas pool build order. So yeah, I mean, again, like, these two players really are two players that throw back a lot, and I feel as though Nerchio isn't even the same player as he was back then, because now he's even more dominant. It feels like he's on another level. He's just continued to grow as a player. Obviously, Partin's just returned as well, but this is really one that could throw us back a little bit. I did see a bunch of people kind of talking and discussing about the possibility of maybe like MMA Partin in the round of 8, and how that's a bit of a throwback, but I mean, even Nerchio Partin's a bit... I feel like any match with Partin is a bit of a throwback, but Nerchio Partin definitely one you could recall back to the early days. We see the Stargate as the choice here from PartinG, a very common way to open up in the PvZ. So setting up in towards this Stargate, getting ready to go in the back of this mineral line. This Overlord coming through the top, and we do see the first Adept popping out, is going to start moving across the map. So already coming up towards the top side of the map here, this Adept going to be arriving in the near future. Overlord continue to move around, is going to be in position to be able to scout this coming through. So Nerchio, if there's map vision, will get a bit of a pre-warning. Not that a single Adept is much of a surprise, but just having an idea that 100% it is coming in is better than not knowing about it at all. Is that Adept going to be shading backwards, of course, as it moves into the natural, wants to try and pick up information. He sees some drones mining there, and honestly, that is kind of good enough. You know, seeing these few drones mining means that he does, you know, there's not going to be a flood of Zerglings coming, basically. So that's the confirmation he gets. Using this Adept to continue picking up information here, will not commit. Maybe if a second Adept came across the map, but right now it just sits back at home. An extra gateway on the way up, and just going to be seeing another Twilight Council too, actually. So to them straight into the Twilight now, and the Robo Facility. This is interesting because it's a little bit kind of an off timing. I guess because he built the Stargate and just the Phoenix? How interesting. So the Phoenix into the Twilight Robo, it's weird because it feels like the Twilight Robo is super quick, and it's because he hasn't made an Oracle. You know, even if you go into like one Oracle, then the Phoenix, that's still going to delay the Twilight by another 10-15 seconds while you build up that 100 gas again. So this seems like a super quick Twilight Robo, and I was like, well, is this like an Archon drop? And it could very well be still. He actually starts up to Templar Archives, and something we did see out of PartinG the other day as well was some Storm drops. So the potential to do something fancy and to please the fans, it's something which he really does like to do a lot of the time. His playstyle often does revolve around, hey, look at me, I can do fancy things, I can drop Templar, and I can Storm Mineralize. I can do things just a little bit differently here than some other players might might approach the matchup. It could very well be with two more gateways coming up, though, that this is very simply just straight up Archon drops as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Storm upgrade. I'm just saying, you know, it is PartinG, so he could throw some Storms in there, but obviously the Archon drop is the much more common way to go about this. As we will see that Warp Prism finishing, we'll be able to start heading out onto the map, and with good map control here with Nerchio, those Zerglings will be able to spot the Warp Prism. Oh my god, did he pull this Ling out away just in time? That would be really, really problematic. Well, not massively problematic, I guess, per se, but be frustrating, as we do see Nerchio with a big wave of units, a lot of Lings, the Bane Nest coming through now, and as the lair has finished, he's going to tech up in towards the Hydra's Den for the mid-game, so going into a Ling Bane Hydra composition as 4 High Templar warping into the right-hand side on this Warp Prism. They are just going to morph into Archons, of course, and there's a charge upgrade to follow it up as well. Now the real question is, PartinG, how aggressive do you want to be? He is going to be throwing down a third Nexus here on the south side, so he is going to expand once again. And he isn't going to throw down a ton of gateways. And what we saw a lot of during PartinG's games against Nerchio the other day was a lot of gateways, was 2-base play, was just straight up aggression, as you're going to see those Lings running in to fight those Archons, and already that Warp Prism just lifts up, pulls away. He's happy with that for now. As the Observer moves across the map, it will allow PartinG to start picking away at some of the creep spread, cleaning up some of the map control, which Nerchio's already established, as Nerchio not interested in fighting these Archons unless he has to. No reason to take free damage when, of course, well, the Archons are just going to lift up as soon as the Warp Prism gets nearby once more. So just going for that, as the Storm will come in here eventually. A few more gateways coming through, but PartinG's continuing to build probes, so he's saturating a third base. He's not looking to get overly aggressive here in the near future. Obviously, you can push out. Obviously, you can try to attack, and you've got these Archons on the map to deal some damage as well. And there are these Crypt Tumors starting to be dealt with, although a Queen, a much more powerful pick-off in the long run. It does get away, though. Just a couple of active tumors picked off there, as now the Hydras get into position will be the real thing to push this back. By the way, on Parasite, this is obviously a Zergy map with the name, but look at this. We've got some Infestors and, like, bathing tub boxes. I don't even know what to make of that. I have been trying to look around these maps a little bit when we have the chance to kind of see the surroundings, to see the kind of cool little doodads that the map makers have added to their maps to obviously create a little bit of an interesting atmosphere. As you see, this Hydra's force picks off the Phoenix scouting around. Something nice, but unfortunately it's not the Warp Prism. If it was the Warp Prism, Nerchio would be cheering in his seat right now, because that would have been one hell of a pick-off, and that would have been something that really slows PartinG down with whatever he wants to go for in the future. As Nerchio, though, should be feeling pretty good at this point. 73 drones, he's at that work account, he's not dying early, which is something that happened a lot to him yesterday when we watched him against PartinG in the main part of this group. As we're just going to be seeing the Warp Prism coming down the left-hand side, back to the south. I'm going to be seeing 2 of these assimilators setting up on this Nexus. So he really is all about the macro here, setting up cannons, getting ready to play a longer game. A bunch of High Templars, so Storms are available. Problem is, he's not going to be able to attack before Baneling Speed Muscular augments. Nerchio is going to have a lot of these upgrades on his side to help him out with this. Going into the melee upgrade too, wasn't a super fast melee upgrade, so it's not like he's going to have +2 in the near future to start one-shot probes, etc. But that +1 melee upgrade will go a long way to help out, just in general, of the Ling Bane attacking into this army even. As you see, Nerchio now going to have to get into more defensive positions. So many Balins about to finish up though, and there's one thing that's missing from this army of PartinG, and that is most definitely going to be, well, force fields. The Storms though are pretty darn good to begin with, but some of those Banes just about managed to connect. The Warp Prism's targeted down, and that means Nerchio is able to push on through this, and he is going to be able to take down pretty much everything in this army. Continue to push through. I mean, there's an Observer going down as well, and we are going to be seeing this Immortal continue to pull back away through to this south side. But it's going to go down also. And Nerchio with a crushing fight here. The Storms were monstrous. I was saying he doesn't have many force fields, but my god, do you even need the force fields when you can just throw down Storms like that? Probably not. This might be a bit of an overcommitment forwards. Not enough support for these Hydras. Just a few Balins will obviously change this up massively. And there they are. And the Zealots try to split away. They try to minimize the damage, but they run back into the Banes. And this is not going to work out. There's a few units getting through the wall. Maybe won't do very much, but the Hydras are here. And it's a GG from PartinG. Nerchio will confirm himself. First place. Get ready to do this then. And then thank you for all the love, and a special shout I suppose to Papa Mitch, who becomes the bit boss with that big round of bits to throw us into our final map of the Tiebreakers. And again, we cannot tiebreak once again. Nerchio has already advanced first place in the group with a victory over both PartinG and Elazer already today. So if you just joined us, this is our final tiebreaker match. The winner of this best of 1 on Cerulean Fall will go through to the quarterfinals to play against Sue, which isn't everyone's which isn't going to be easy. It most definitely isn't. But let's see what will happen. So again, we are here on Cerulean Falls, a map by Solstice 245. We have to the bottom left-hand side the red Protoss player. Give it up if you're cheering on PartinG. Well, my FPS has just immediately dropped here as we swapped servers. Not sure what that's about. Hopefully it's going to be okay. A couple of the maps have been a little bit kind of problematic with FPS. Maybe a few too many doodads and bits and pieces, but yeah, we'll have to, obviously that's just something we have to deal with here throughout the map contest tournament. As we have to the top right hand side of the map our blue Zerg player. Give it up if you're cheering on Elazer. Alright, so setting up into this, getting going as we do see the Nexus already dropping down from PartinG. His choice here, and I mean Elazer's choice as well, very similar to what we saw in Nerchio versus PartinG. So pretty much just a hatch gas pool against that Gate Nexus core. So really nothing too surprising to get going in the new or early stages of this. Now, throwing back to the Elazer versus PartinG series, Elazer did take down PartinG 2-1, and PartinG did find his success with a big, aggressive, kind of all-in attack, similar to how he found success against Nerchio yesterday. That's how PartinG took a map off of Elazer the other day. Today he's already showed us a bit of a macro play, focusing on going into an expansion, going in towards a play style that was a little bit different to what he showcased in yesterday's PvZ. So what will he do this time around? Already throwing down that Stargate in the main, already setting up into something just a little bit different, well, a little bit similar to before here, but very different to what we saw again yesterday. Not a lot of... It's harder to base off of the Stargate, because it does delay the rest unless you really feel you're going to do damage or gain something from the Stargate. I mean, one of the big benefits is that you can deny scouting, which will keep Elazer somewhat in the dark as to what is going on. What's up, Fruit Cup 3 as well, very quickly with the Twitch Prime sub for the 2 months. Thank you very much for the support as well, mate. Do appreciate it. Now, the Adept does just jump up in towards the main base here, all the way up, and is just going to be seeing the... well, actually, Shade's in, so obviously trying to get some... I'm not sure if he wants damage or if he just wasn't meant to let this Shade, as we will see this Adept just going to Shade back out of the bases and back down to this low ground. Going to be seeing this gateway coming up as well just to finish the front wall off, as it looks as though the exact same build as in game number 1. He looks as though he's going to be going in towards the Twilight Council and Robo as a follow-up and go and potentially into that Templar Archives again. Now, it doesn't have to be that. It could just be straight into a Robo. He could play it differently as well. He doesn't have to go Templar Archives. He could Glaives follow up if he wanted to. But the fact that he's only gone for the Phoenix and he hasn't thrown down the Oracle as well really is just so many similarities to this build from the last build we saw out of him that we're going to be seeing. Well, you know, it's easy to assume that's probably going to be the same for now, as we're going to be seeing 2 more gates being added on as well. So he is going to be continuing to set up in towards that setup where he's going to be able to morph in those Archons, although that's only 1 extra gate for now. So he's missing 1 gate from where he was last time, and obviously 4 gates is what you need for High Templar, which obviously then makes the 2 Archons to fit into the War Prism and that natural and just generic Archon drop, and that's why we are going to see something different. There's going to be the Resonating Glaive, so it's not the same as last time. There's the turn in the road that PartinG's going to go down to completely change things up here in this game, as we're going to be seeing this gateway is going to be finishing up in a moment or so. Robo Facility going to be finishing as well. There should still just be a War Prism, of course, and I wonder just how many more gateways we see. Is this going to be a 3rd Nexus? Well, he is still building probes, and there's a Forge, which is the indicator that this is going to be an expansion-focused play behind these Adepts. So just a bit of a different way of getting into this from PartinG, and even a different way of playing from Elazer right now. The Roach Roaring going to be his choice of play next, and going into that Roach Roaring, well, that's going to allow him here to just get a bit of a sturdier force up than the Ling Bane force we saw out of Nerchio just previously. Now remember, this is an important match because the winner of this match goes 2nd place in the group and the loser is just completely eliminated as, ooh, extra gateways. So what's the Forge for? The probe getting down to the low ground isn't actually going to be building the Nexus. Is this Forge just a complete fake out? But what would it even be a fake out for? He does start +1. Wow, very strange. So extra gateways coming through. The +1 attack starting very late here to kind of add into play. This is such a weird little something, as you're going to see those Adepts working their way through that Spore Crawler, getting quite a bit of damage done. A couple of Lings moving forwards, they're going to get picked off as well, and that Spore Crawler will go down if these Roaches continue to move forwards up through this top side. They're going to chase those Adepts away, and that's the power of those Roaches. Now we've seen a Immortal follow-up, so that's what this is. Some sort of maybe aggressive Immortal-based follow-up attack here with the +1, a couple of Immortals, some Sentries, and then the Adepts as the kind of warping in units to kind of help out. Okay, and he is going to throw another Nexus down. It's kind of a backup, but he still hasn't made any extra probes. So for now, you really can still assume this is just all-out aggression from PartinG as he grabs himself 5 workers so far. Elazer's actually taking quite a lot of damage here. 7 workers down. He's not having a great time. His Roach is up to the top side, still pushing those Adepts away, but they're going to shade out of there. They're going to be alive when they do that. And so 8 workers killed. I mean, that's a great start for PartinG in terms of just coming across the map and ending this game with this big attack, of course, in the next few moments. I mean, we see a couple of Immortals on the way up. And as these Immortals come out, I mean, they are really the units which are just going to shred their way through Roaches. It kind of feels like Elazer might be... I don't even know if he's looking for aggression himself. You know, maybe he's going for that sort of style where the idea is you deal with the Adepts so easily that then you kind of push back across the map and you deal a lot of damage. But PartinG's set up so well to deal with this. Multiple force fields available. The Immortals obviously are going to be great here. As we see, the Roach Ravager is definitely looking to be aggressive. +1 is done as well for PartinG. His more force fields dropping down. Really nicely placed. He was always so well known for his force field control and placement, and he's showing us why just now. As we do see a couple of corrosive bars being able to land, however, the Sentries most importantly here being targeted down. He lifts up that Ravager, so he will get 1 final kill. I feel this was a very good hold for PartinG, and the potential to just counterattack is definitely there. The one thing he's got to be afraid of is he has just lost so many of his Sentries. That's got to be somewhat of a concern for him, as again dodging those bars, and he will get rid of this Ravager. That will go down as well. It's continuing to come through to the top side. There's going to be seeing a few more Roaches of Elazer backing away, as now this Overlord going to go down as well. So Overlord gets picked off in this War Prism of PartinG over to the right, as we see another hatchery just going to be finishing on the 4th base in the next few moments. Queen's coming in already targeting the War Prism, which is trying to get up to this army so it can reinforce. Isn't able to make it there just yet, though. And this becomes scary for PartinG because he does only have Resonating Glaives. He's got massive Stalkers, which aren't going to add a lot to this, I suppose. It's kind of a weird combo. He looks as though he's going to back away. +2 starting up, Templar Archives dropping down. He seems to be somewhat happy with how this has gone, and so he's just going to continue on by throwing in a few more Adepts. He's just going to keep on macroing this up. He's not going to fully commit to the fight. But this push across the map has done quite a bit. It forced so many more roaches out of Elazer, when in the long term, his plan is to play Hydra Bane, or at least a transition which includes Hydras and Banes. And obviously, they have been delayed heavily in this scenario because of the fact that PartinG has put out this aggression. He is forced to make roaches because if he'd made Hydra Bane too early, he would have just lost out his army. He wouldn't have had enough to hold on, and he would have been taken down, and that of course would have really been disastrous as we see these roaches and ravages back down to the low ground. Some Hydras joining up as well. Those Banelings waddling their way into the army too. The one thing I'd like to see from PartinG is maybe just just an observer across the map, perhaps, to maybe clean up some of these creep tumors, but that's the only thing I can really criticize. I feel like he's making some good moves so far. The Warp Prism's still here as well. As long as the Warp Prism's still out on the map, you're able to do little bits and pieces like this, picking off a drone, keeping units at home. A little bit of a roach run by, and actually PartinG is back into the center, so this could be somewhat problematic. A couple of High Templar do not have Storm just yet. There is some cannons, there is an Immortal, and he is actually just going to recall back home with his army just to defend this nice and easily. And he'll chase those roaches away, no problem. I don't think that's a massive issue, as he's going to add a shield battery here as well. I was going to say, it's kind of a bit old school, these cannons, isn't it? Just not really kind of the new thing to build. You know, shield batteries are what we see so much more of, because while cannons are great defensively, you know, a shield battery or two obviously helps out in units as well. So warping then becomes so much stronger, although we will see a couple of cancels up there. We're still going to see those Stalkers and Immortals pushing on through, and those roaches just being forced back, as now more of an army going to come through the center of the map, and that's quite a lot of Banelings are morphing in already here from Elazer. So a lot of Banelings morphing in, a ton of Hydras moving through as well, some Ravagers also, as we're just going to be seeing these Zerglings moving in towards this fourth Nexus. Again, that attack to the top side, those roaches are problematic, and PartinG has to find a way to split up his army. He's going to take some Stalkers up there. I feel as though one Immortal could go such a long way. The High Templar are going to focus where the Hydras are, though, and that definitely makes sense, as we're going to see PartinG in a supply block now, losing this. Again, imagine what Immortal, how much more it could get done, although now the cannons starting to help out as well. There's going to be the Bins to lead the charge, but there's the Storms, and they're pretty good. Oh no! Just a couple of Bins connected on the High Templar, though. There's another couple of Storms. They land perfectly! Look how many of those Banelings go down, as Elazer is not currently able to push on in. However, he's got more units reinforcing. Can PartinG continue to defend this? So far, his Storms have been on point, but now his High Templar are mostly out of energy. He doesn't have many Storms left in him. Those Banes begin to crash in, but the one Storm that's there is very, very good. But he doesn't have Storms left to wither away at those Hydralisks, and another round of Banelings are ready to go. Where are those Templar in terms of energy? Nowhere near Storms, honestly, and that might just be the issue, as Elazer is pushing on through this. He's taking down another couple of Immortals. I mean, some Zealots are going to warp in here, as there's the Storm to help PartinG out. But is it enough? I don't think so. Is a High Templar out of energy again? I mean, at this stage, maybe he should have just wolfed them into Archons, as Elazer might just about have enough. Those roaches to the top side being such a nuisance, throwing PartinG off, missing a warping cycle with that supply block, and from that supply block, he just wasn't quite able to maybe get the full set of units that he needed here. As we're going to be seeing those Hydras and Ravagers pulling back, a couple more Corrosive Bars dropping on down. This, my friends, really is looking to be pretty much the end right now, as we see PartinG is going to have to type out GG, and Elazer will take the final slot